Hi, welcome to Winter Nation. My name is Michael Fagan. I'm from Atlantic City, and I'm the host of the show. I'm joined with Josh Ziegler. He's from Georgia. We're both waiters, professional waiters, and it's been our career. We have Monica from California coming in today, and she is a restaurant owner. So I'd like to hear her perspective. A lot going on in the news. The $600 is ending. That affects all of us. There was a major video about the American Frontline doctors yesterday. A lot of people have strong opinions on that. I really don't want to get political. It's hard not to, but I'd like your opinion. I'd like all your opinions as long as we can keep it cordial between us. And I'm not pro or negative anybody. I'm really pro me because I'm worried about me right now. $600, getting back to work. A lot of my struggles are your struggles. This week, I have Butch Bradley coming in tomorrow. He's a comedian from Las Vegas. He just has a new comedy special scheduled, so we're going to talk to him. I think that's a pretty cool guest. And on Friday, I have Donna Albano. She is an associate professor at Stockton University for tourism and hospitality. So I'd like to get her input on all this too, because that's what she does year round. Josh, how you feeling today?
Nervous.
Yeah, I'm on edge myself.
A lot hangs in the balance for us.
So I don't want to talk about the doctors first off. I think the most important thing for me is, hey, Frankie, what's going on, brother? How you hanging in? You're like me. We're sitting here in Atlantic City, home all day. First of all, the 600 is really, it's what I'm watching all day long. My restaurant's closed. I have no opportunity to go back to work. I look every single day for different jobs all around. I did have a decent restaurant job that paid a good income, and it's hard to replace. So I can't, a minimum wage job is easy to replace. I can go down the road and get another one. But you and I, we make a decent living, and it's hard to replace those jobs. And you and I have both said that this $600 or not, which is cool as hell. Oh, that's good. I'm glad. Yeah, he's an Atlantic City guy, the comedian tomorrow. Yes, it does suck, Frank. But what's your feelings on the 600? You think now? Last week we had Daniel on. He was your buddy. You worked with him.
He was very confident that we were getting $600. I'm very reserved about that. There's too much push. It's not just politicians that don't want to give it to us. A lot of people out there feel like they don't want to give it to people, especially people that weren't earning that much. And I think the number 64% were making more money on getting the $600 plus their state income. And 32% were making twice as much, which, I understand that. I can understand people's anger for that. I think that a lot of those people feel like, they're just being lazy. They won't go back to work. It's hard if you're making more money to want to go into work and make less money. Who would want to do that? What sane person would choose that route? I get that. But if you look at the numbers, I mean, if there's 64% are making more, that obviously means that, approximately 36% of people make less. You and I fall into that category.
Which is like, if you just break the numbers down the easiest possible way, it's like 20 million are making more, 10 million are making less. And you and I fall within the 10 million people that are making less. I know Frank's making less. I know where he works.
Right.
My complaint is that we're losing money and don't have a chance to work right now. They want to take the money away. Yeah, I'm right with you, Frank. We both have decent jobs. You're not making more money right now on 600. I'm not. Josh isn't. And
here's my argument is, my wife and I, we make about $150,000 a year. Okay. Together, we both work in this industry. That's what we do. Now we have 2 kids, we have a house, we have bills that people that make $150,000 a year have,
Right.
So if I am not being able to somewhat replace that income, and like you, I'm not even given a shot. My restaurant's not open. There aren't, the restaurants that are open aren't hiring. The higher end places especially aren't hiring because those people don't, leave their jobs. So we have no chance to make that money. Even my wife, whose place is open, she's only working 2 days a week, maybe every once in a while, 3 days a week. So there's no chance for us to replace our income. So now, we're going to have to start making hard decisions. I already made the decision based on getting $600 to cut medical insurance out of my bills because I couldn't afford that and everything else.
Right.
So by taking that away from the 36% of people that are making less money, you're going to force them to make these hard decisions, and that will have a trickle-down effect on the economy. There's got to be a way, if you don't want to disincentivize them from going back to work, there's got to be a way that they could, figure this out based on what you make. There's got to be a way to do it. I mean, state unemployment works that way.
State unemployment runs, well, at least in New Jersey, it's 40%. So if you're making $1,000 a week, you're making $400 a week now, basically.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
There's been so many people that fell through the cracks in unemployment that if they, and I heard the proposal, I don't know if it's writing or not, that the Republicans' plan, the Senate plan, would be the $200 a week for 2 months, give unemployment in the states and federal government time to figure out what is 70% of what you used to make. Mm-hmm. So then after 2 months of the $200 a week, if you're still unemployed, you would get 70%. So a guy making $1,000 a week makes $700 a week. So many people fell through the cracks. So many people, I just talked to somebody this morning, hasn't got paid in 8 weeks. I know somebody in my family hasn't got paid in 8 weeks. So many people that I know haven't even got paid for, since this all started. So then you run the risk. I mean, I'm worried about that. I don't want to make the 70%. I'd rather them just blanket it and give us a number, and then at least we know what to expect. As far as you and me, like, I see some jobs, I search some jobs all day. They're outside patio jobs. I'm willing to do it. But if it means I make $400 or $500 a week, that's not even close to what I would make in a normal job.
It's not going to help you, right? It's
not about, I'm making more sitting home. I'm not even close. I'm not, it's not right. And I'm not, I say it all the time. I'm not going to impress you with my bank book, but, I'm head of household. I'm not married. So, there's just one person that pays everything. So, it's 103 here every day. My electricity bill is going through the roof. That's a concern, turning down electricity, all these things that maybe you're not thinking about front of mind. And I lost my insurance on April 30th. And I believe, Atlantic City is a big union town. I believe just about every waiter in the city that's in the union lost their insurance too. So we're out of insurance.
I mean, what would Cobra run you? Probably like $800 a month for you by yourself.
I think it would be more than that because I was paying $6. I think it would be like 15, and that's And originally I thought, well, this will be over in a month. This will be over in 2 months. So why should I even do that? I'll just, I'll be back to work in May. I'll be back to work in June. And then obviously it didn't happen.
And then you don't have health insurance. Now you go back to work and you've got to debate, well, I'm not going to be making what I used to make. Is that something I want to have? But by going to work, you're risking your health. It's.
But also, I mean, other than just the virus itself, I'm worried about going for a run in the field and twisting my ankle because I can't afford to get hurt. Like I have to be a little more careful about everything. I'm worried about a toothache that'll cost me $1,000 if I have to go get a tooth pulled. I'm worried about a lot of things that, aren't usually what I'm thinking about because you have coverage and insurance and so on. And now, a toothache or a twisted ankle could really put me in a bad position. And then you have to claim, well, then you can't even get the insurance, right? Because you can't work. I saw there's this meme going around that a lot of people are sharing, and it says if you were making $800 to $1,000 a week since this beginning, and you didn't save any money, it's your own fault. You should have money put away.
That's what
$800 or $1,000 a week for me is I'm not able to save. I'm not able to save.
$3,200 for $4,000 a month. I mean, that's what bills cost.
And if you're paying $1,500 for rent or a mortgage, there you go. And another $1,000 just for household bills, or $1,500 for household bills. Electric, gas, cable, everything else. Your car payments.
It's $1,500 a month for food and gas. In my household of 4. I mean.
So for me now, I know a lot of people,
that's what people spend.
If you were making $300 a week and now you're making $1,000 a week, you should have been responsible for it, right? You should have taken advantage, spent a little money. Also, the thing is that if you were making $300 or $400 a week and now you're making 800 or 1,000, those are the people that are going out to restaurants every night. Those are the ones that are outside and they're spending and maybe buying a used car. So that was the idea, to get the economy going. I understand.
Well, I think that was the stimulus idea. That was the idea of putting $1,200 in everybody's account is, hey, you stimulate the economy. If you remember, I think we did that back in Bush's first term. He gave everybody, I think it was like $400 just to get out there and spend it. You know, they didn't want you to spend that on your electric bill. But yeah, you know, sure, there are going to be people. I mean, you can remember. I remember working like my first couple of years of college, and I actually was a lifeguard, so I'd get laid off at the end of every summer, and I'd be able to collect unemployment. And yeah, if I was back then getting, you know, $800 as opposed to the 200 or whatever it was I was getting, I can understand people being pissed off about that. You know, like I said, I do understand the anger, you know, towards some people making it. But let's look at the entire picture here,
right,
and look at the whole economy, because you take this money away from people, this economy is going to crash. It's going to crash. You're going to take all that money out of the economy, and you're going to have places that are doing, like you said, some restaurants and stuff like that that are doing decent business because of, you know, people having this money in their accounts. Take that away. I mean, they're going to start laying off people, you know, especially retail. It's going to affect Amazon. It's going to affect Amazon stock. You know, it's just, it's going to have the effects are endless. So,
right.
You know.
And a lot of people say like they don't want to go back to work because they're making more at home. A lot of my choices are, I can't afford to go back to work. I can't afford to go make $500 a week for the next 2 or 3 months, because I'll still lose my place. I won't be able to pay bills or credit cards or car payments or anything. That doesn't help me. So I have to figure out where I'm making more. It's not a case for me of being greedy. And I think the conversation with restaurant owners, when a restaurant manager calls up his employee and says, hey, you want to come back to work? It's not full-time. It's not pre-COVID wages. So if you were, and let's just say, making $1,000 a week, you're not going back to $1,000 a week. You might be going back to 2 or 3 days, making, you know, half that. If you were making $200 a night, you might be making $80 a night now in a lot of cases, or get rained out twice a week. So the questions are, well, how much do you need me full time? And the restaurant managers are, well, we're not sure yet. How much am I going to get? You know, how many hours a week? How many other people are you bringing in? How many covers are you doing? Are you doing 100 covers a night? Then are you bringing 12 guys in, or are you just bringing 3 guys in? So there's a lot of dynamics to what we do and how we make money, because you and I both know we'd rather go in with 4 guys and make $400 one night than work 2 nights, right? Like that's
right.
We make that decision all the time in our business. Make as much money. I'd rather work 3 nights a week and make a full salary than 5 nights a week and stand around most of the time. But so those are the conversations. I don't think the conversations are, I don't want to go back, I'm making too much money at home. I think people are ready to go back. I mean, work and accomplishment makes you feel good. It gives you purpose, and you
put structure in your day. I mean, I've been saying that for a while now, just talking privately with friends, my wife, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, if it were the same amount of money, if I were going to make, I make after taxes $810 now on the unemployment, although I didn't get paid my federal unemployment this week, which has got me a little perturbed. But you know, or I could go to work and make that same amount of money. I'd rather go to work 3-4 days a week.
100%. If they call me 3 days of work this week, 100%. I'll show up early and I'll leave late. Like, you know,
I'm bored at home. It's getting trying, you know, and it's not like I have the extra money now, like I do when I'm working, that, oh, it's my day off. Let's go here. Let's go there. Let's go out to eat. Let's take the kids to the aquarium. I don't have that kind of luxury money at this point. So I'm here at home. My kids haven't been at school since April. You know, so, you know, thank God I've got a pool right next to my house in the community I live in, that, you know, it's a community pool. And we spend a lot of time there, but that's it. I mean, that's the structure of my day.
Hey, Nikki, after Showboat closed, I saved all my tips, never spent a dime. Maybe this pandemic will be the lesson to servers to save that money. I think culture will change, and I've heard a lot of stories where they said that after the Depression, 100 years ago, that culture changed, the way of thinking changed, the way waste not, want not came from the Depression, and that's why we grew up and we had to finish all our broccoli before we left the table. That's why a lot of things were instilled in us. And thinking like a year ago, you might spend $1,000 on something unnecessary but fun and think, well, I'm working next week. It's busy. We have conventions. I already talked to the boss. So your future. I think a lot of that will tighten up. First of all, you have to be in a position to save. You can't be, your bills can't be $4,000 a month and you're making $3,800 a month, right? To do that, you have to be in a position to save. But I definitely think a lot of things will change. Just the way I am, Frank says like his 600 is a Saturday night. Frank works in a strong room.
I get Nikki's point, and I mean she's right. I mean I can't tell you, and look, it varies. You're in certain rooms where you're making $300-400 a night. You're in certain rooms where you're making $150 a night. There's a difference there. Mm-hmm. And obviously, I don't know how old Nikki is, but it is different. When you have a family and it's a career and you have career expenses, from being
Nikki's I know Nikki, and she's been in the business as long as I have, easily.
That being said,
family, houses, all that.
I've always, since the time I was 30 years old, I'm 49 now. I've always been of the mindset that I work $1,000 a month into my bills, and that's just savings. I just put that in savings, but I treat it like a bill. It's important for me to say, okay, let's take $1,000 every month, put this in a savings account, and there you have it. That's how you get a down payment for a home. You don't get, raked over the coals when you're buying a new car by, paying 6% interest. You just pay cash, that kind of stuff. So I've always felt that to be important. So I agree with you there. And I know servers that make $400-500 a night and still have to work, on the 30th to make rent for the first.
Well, a lot of waiters want to go out afterwards and be big shots, and they tip big, and they party up and have a good time. Right. And it's a lifestyle. It's a very stressful job. They go off and blow off some steam, but you go out with $500 in your pocket, and you come home with $40. And then at the end of the month you can't pay rent. I mean,
here you go. You're making $70,000 a year. There's no excuse not to have savings. You're making $30,000 a year. I can't imagine anybody having savings on that.
Right. So let's see what Nikki has to say. What's up, Maris? No one knows where to go from here. 100% right. It's hard to look to the future. It's hard to look to next month. It's hard to say by September 1st, I will. I just talked to somebody, and you confirmed it, right? A friend of mine who works in Philly, and I said, well, maybe by August 1st, Philly will be back up indoor dining, and so will we in Atlantic City. Right now, indoor dining in Atlantic City and Philadelphia is not allowed. And he said it was pushed back till September 1st. Now, I wasn't up on that, but Jesus, I'm frustrated. I understand the frustration. Pennsylvania's numbers, New Jersey's numbers, New York numbers are the lowest in the country or close to it. Mm-hmm. And to keep us home is frustrating. And I think people are, in the beginning, it was a dangerous virus that we were scared of. And I think now poverty is the more scary,
Oh, without a doubt.
And and now with the 600 running out, doesn't make me say like, well, I got to go back to work. I can't. It's illegal for me to go back to work. No, nobody called me. And my restaurant is closed, and it's against the law to open up because I work in an indoor restaurant with no patio. So I am looking to the future, and I am, getting my resume together. I'm on sites all day long. I don't know, change careers, do something else. That's kind of a scary thing. It normally takes a couple of years to build up, change an industry and still try to make $60,000, $75,000 a year is awful difficult to do. Just like if anybody came into your restaurant, they wouldn't make what you're making right off the bat. Right. It takes a while. Real estate, car sales, insurance, solar panel sales.
Any kind of sales job that you're going to get. I mean, everybody says you need like 2-3 years to get into it. Go in there with savings. You can't just jump into the real estate market and be making, $100,000 a year. You'll eventually get there, I would imagine, but it takes time. You got to build up a customer base. You're starting from scratch. You don't have the connections in the industry. You have connections in the restaurant industry, not in the real estate industry. You'll have some crossover, but
right. Steve saved $23,000 in change. There's a coin shortage going on right now. It's probably all our waiters with those 5-gallon buckets in their bedroom with 100 pounds of change. Yeah, change is good. Ones are good. A buddy of mine that works in a casino, he used to save $100 chips and take them home, and not like every night, but as much as he could. And over the course of a year, you can't spend a chip if it's sitting at your house. You can't just grab it and go. And at the end of every year, he would go in with thousands of dollars and cash it out. He was in that position to do it, but he was always the guy. We never liked to get chips for tips, and if we did, we'd always go to him and be like, "Yo, can you buy it tonight? Can you buy it off me tonight so I don't have to run to the cage?" That's that. We were talking.
I used to do the coin thing myself. I like that. But when again, changes in industry, I mean, I get paid in a check now. So I don't have all that cash lying around, because you just go into the, convenience store, buy, you'd have a ton of 1s and 5s on you. I used to keep that in a separate wad, and I used to spend that at, just going to get a Gatorade or something like that. And, you'd have change. And then, next thing you know, at the end of the month, you deposit that in the bank and, right. Look at that, $47 and change. But I don't even spend cash anymore. I put all my cash in the bank if I get any, and I spend everything on a card.
Going back to Marissa and making plans for the future, difficult thing to do. I had a point and then I forgot it. So
okay. And like I was talking to you before we went on air, I'm like, it's like we're in a snow globe, and it just got turned upside down. You got all these particles flying around. We don't know where they're going to land. So how can you make any kind of plans right now? There are so many variables that are just up in the air, and you can't plan anything until those things work themselves out. I had a buddy of mine, and hopefully he'll come on the show soon. Good guy, been in the industry a long time. He's a liquor rep right now, but he was talking to me about a job opportunity. And great, a job opportunity. Perhaps that'll be a phenomenal thing, but I don't know if my old job's coming back or when. And that's a variable I would like to have answered before I go out and do something else. Because if that comes back, that suited my life well. My life was figured out.
Pre-COVID, and I was doing well with it. I definitely lost one job, and the other job I'm hopeful, but I'm not 100% sure on. Right. But as we make plans for the future, and as this, if you get $200 or $400 or $6 added onto your unemployment, and you look forward to it, I think the fall could be a disaster. Baseball right now, with the Marlins, how many players got sick? How many games are being canceled? There's a lot of chatter like, "Oh, I bet you, what's the over/under on the baseball season end?"
Yeah,
right? Like, will it end in the month? I mean, will this just continue and continue and continue? And whether or not you're scared that this is a deadly virus or not, that doesn't seem to matter. What seems to matter is case numbers. So as long as our case numbers are high, we don't work. That's how I look at it. We got 50,000 cases a day. I'm not making income. We don't have shows. Baseball right now is is the first professional team that started. That money that's saved isn't going to be worth much because the economy will go down, Fabian. Like it's like that. And then school starts. So I was going on the future, right? So then school starts, and then professional teams. And if all this is a disaster, if school starts and then cancels, and then starts and then cancels, if college football, college sports and professional sports cancel, this will trickle down to us. We can't open if they can't open. And it could all be a disaster by October 1st. And we could already set up saying like, "Oh, well, just $200 because, we're getting back to work soon." But we make this law for 6 months. We have to live with it. And then what happens is things change so drastically that $200, $400 isn't going to help us,
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things there. First of all, with what Fabian said, that money won't be worth much. I tend to disagree with that. I think that, if when the economy starts going down, prices will go down too. So your money will actually be worth a little more. But that we'll set that aside. Yeah, I mean, and what you're saying, I mean, we can see it. Again, we go back to school earlier here. We start August 5th. They moved the date back first. We were supposed to go back. They gave us a survey. Do you want to go back with the kids going back in person, or are you going to do, the digital learning? We chose in person, and then they changed that because the teachers got together, and it just wasn't a good idea to open up schools, and it's not a good idea to open up schools. Now I'm hearing Philadelphia's doing the same debate. They had the same thing. They were going to do 2 days a week, and now they're having the debate. Well, maybe we should just go all digital learning to start, and this is going to be going on all over the place. The schools won't open.
Because if the school's not open, we can't go back to work because restaurants and bars are the enemy, right? And that's what I mean. Like, so if professional sports kill it and are successful, great. It's a model that's shown to be successful. And if schools can do it, it says, okay, I heard something, and I heard it from both sides. I heard it on Fox and CNN. So it's not up to 10 years old. The kids are not transferring it. And I could be wrong because I'm not fact checking and I'm not a journalist, but up to 10 years old, now 10 and on, they do transfer it. They are little germs, like they do carry the cold and the flu, that they'll bring it home and they'll pass it on.
And I've said this every time we've done this show. We don't know a lot about this virus, and I mean, what does that mean? On your 10th birthday, you can, I mean, so it's younger kids versus, slightly older kids. I mean, when's the change happen? During puberty? I mean, what happens in your body? They don't know the answers to these things.
We don't know. And like I said, you might think it's dangerous and you might not think it's dangerous. But either way, and I don't want to argue that with anybody because everybody has an opinion, so that's fine. But my belief is as long as numbers are high, our industry is going to suffer. And Fabian says, I see you there, Monica. I'll let you in 1 second. And Fabian says, okay, so the inflation is going to devalue the dollar if you just keep printing money and put it out. I know. I don't. There's a lot of news going on, and I tell everybody I'm selfishly just trying to think of myself, and I'm not trying to get ahead. I'm just trying to survive. So, hello, Monica. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
Hi, Monica.
Monica is a restaurant owner in California. She's been in the business her entire life. We're on the East Coast here, Monica, and all we hear about in California is that it's a hot spot. It's dangerous. How are you doing with your restaurant?
We're doing okay. We've been, it's been up and down for quite a while. We've been dealing with open, shut, mostly because the counties and government officials are struggling with what to do based on data that they're getting from, all the science that's coming in real time. And because we don't have any guidelines nationwide, we're struggling to do it at the state and local levels, which I think has been the argument from the onset.
What are the rules in California where you are? Is there indoor dining or just patio, or how does that?
So right now we have outdoor patio dining in our county. We were one of the last counties to open. We were one of the first counties to shut down.
Livermore, is that where you're? Livermore, California?
Sorry?
Livermore, California?
Yes, we're in Alameda County, which was one of the longest to be shut down.
Okay.
We shut down in, I believe it was March 17th was the date we shut down. And I think we were right after San Francisco. And we were the last to open. We opened July 9th. And yeah, we were one of the last ones.
And that's for outdoor dining. So now with restrictions, do you call back your entire staff, or are you juggling around trying to?
Well, I never really let my staff go.
Okay.
I had 30 employees when we started the shutdown. And I think at the lowest level, we were at 20, maybe 18. And I received a small amount of PPP money. I think it was maybe mid-April, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the exact dates. And I paid most of them almost 2 to 4 weeks of PPP back pay. But most of them, what I did was I rotated hours. I gave them a minimum of hours, but I kept them working.
So they were still able to collect unemployment and get the federal benefit?
Some people aren't eligible for unemployment.
Okay.
And so I did what I could.
Right.
I had some people that came in, and I had a guy work there, and he's still with me. He worked voluntarily for 2 weeks just to earn tips. And I paid him anyway because I just felt horrible.
So you were cognizant of all the issues surrounding, individual employees and tried to work with them to make it.
I don't know how you can't be and work in this business.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. You
I
have to have that kind of compassion.
Tips only right now. If somebody in my area called me up and said, Fagan, come on in for tips only, I would jump on it. Let me ask you this. A lot of politicians trying to make the point of the $600 are saying that when restaurant owners are calling employees, they're saying, I want to stay home because I'm making more money at home than going to work. Are you finding that struggle as well, being a restaurant owner?
I think there was a brief moment in time in July where maybe we had people saying, yeah, I'm going to stay home. But for the most part, all of my employees are there. They know what kind of money they make at my place. So they're not trying to stay home. And I think that there's a real misconception. I mean, there may be a minority of people that are going to grab that free money for a while, but the majority of American people want to work, and they want to feel that they're doing something that is, is productive, and they don't want to sit on the couch. I think that that's just an overall feeling of well-being. I don't know of anybody.
Oh, keeping your sanity 100%. Like I said, exactly. I'm going crazy being at home.
Exactly.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah, I know my husband was out because I did get sick. I got sick in early June with the virus, and it affected, my whole household. Obviously, my husband works in construction, and he had to stay home for 2 weeks. And even though he was earning an income, it drove him out of his mind.
Yeah.
And, it's like he was on the phone with his boss every day because they needed him on the job, but he had to stay home and quarantine. And, when I think that, I closed down my restaurant after I found out I was sick, and I had a few employees test positive. On the average, I think in June through July 3rd, we were closed almost 21 days. So, that the effect of the quarantining, and when you're talking about, different levels of quarantine, depending on your level of exposure, based on what the health department is wanting you to do, it's 5 or 6 different levels of quarantine.
Yeah.
And in order to make sure that you're following all the protocols, that's a huge amount of time
and expense.
You have your, whether or not you're positive, whether or not you are negative, and you were associated with someone who was positive, whether or not you were, it's just all these different protocols. And it's very hard as a business owner, not only to follow the protocols, but to make sure that you're messaging to your public correctly, whether or not you're handling the staffing correctly. I mean, you have all of these different parameters now because you have whether or not your staffing is socializing. Are you making sure that they're following protocol outside of work? And honestly, you can't. How do you do that as a business owner? How do you make sure that besides screening when they come in the building and doing, because none of the people that I had that were sick had a temperature.
Okay.
So you have minimal ways of screening your staff. And then I remember closing down on the 21st of June and telling everybody, you know what, everybody needs to go get tested. And you need to let me know what your results are, and you can't come back to work until you do that. I had 2 employees leave and never come back because they didn't want to go get tested. So that they went to work somewhere else, but what do you do about that? And it's how other places are handling their protocols with new employees, with employees that are coming in from other places, how the connectivity between staff, because that most restaurant employees have second jobs. Are they are they handling proper protocols as far as the other jobs that they work at if they've tested positive and you've quarantined them?
How do you work that out if somebody calls you and says, Monica, I just tested positive for COVID? Now,
they have to go, and then you have to find out who they were around with the past 48 hours where those people have to get tested. But now you're dealing with a situation where it's not easy to get tested.
yeah.
You've got one area in Alameda County right now at Fairgrounds, I believe, that the last I heard, it was an 8-hour wait to get tested. And unless you have an order from your doctor, you can't go to like a CVS or to, I know when I was sick, my doctor didn't test me. He said, you can go get tested if you want to, since you own a business, you might want to do that, blah, blah, blah. But I went on my own voluntarily. But it's not easy to get done right now.
So they have to get a test, they have to show up negative, and then they have to come back, which they could wait a week to get the results. So
sometimes I had
it's up to like 10 days now, 12 days, 15 days.
Yeah, my two nieces that live in a different county, they got tested at a clinic, and it took almost 12 days for them to get their results back. But they couldn't come back to work until they got them back. But the idea is that you can't indiscriminately test right now because they don't have the test kits to do it. And that's what we're finding across the board, is that we don't have the ability. They tell you in the federal level that if you want a test, you can get a test. It's total crap.
Right. How do you feel about in this new HEALS Act that they're putting out, what the Senate proposed? One of those things is the protection to business owners that you can't be sued. As a business owner, and this is a partisan issue, this is Republicans against Democrats on this. As a business owner, is that necessary? I mean, me and Josh have both said that I would agree. I mean, if you have 1 million people suing businesses, that could be a disaster as well.
Well, people are litigious by nature. I think that if they can sue, they're going to sue no matter what. I mean, you have a workman's comp situation with this as well, and they can claim workman's comp if they're sick. And this is just an issue that we're going to have to navigate through. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I mean, here you have a government that's trying to push people to go back to work, whether or not they're healthy or not. And because they want to get the economy going. And here's a catch-22 situation. You can't have a healthy economy without a healthy public to work. So you have people who are scared to go back to work, but you're going to push them back to work whether or not, and then you're going to tell them that they can't be, responsible for their health, and they can't hold their employer accountable for forcing them to come back to work. I mean, it doesn't make sense on its face.
Yeah.
So,
it's mad.
Well, look, it's always been a Republican agenda to roll back any kind of regulations that you could possibly have, and obviously have limits on, what people can sue bigger companies for. And it's just a chance to put that in the guise of, this is for the economy.
You also have to understand too that it's a corporate agenda, because it's a corporate.
Of course.
It's a corporate. I mean, I just. We just have to stop the corporate holdings on anybody involved in government. We just have to stop it. Period. Full stop. It has to.
Good luck with that. There's too much money involved.
But that's where it has to end.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's going to be a large stone to overturn.
Well, you just have to get involved with the right movements to get that done. That's where my head is at. So,
how do you feel about? Go ahead, Josh. You got a question?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to get into to numbers, and to not get too personal. We'll just talk about percentages. But the fact that you own a restaurant, you've been open, I'm presuming doing like to-go food and stuff like that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How has that affected your numbers, and how have you been able to stay in business? Are you turning the profit?
So let me, without being too revealing on what we were doing before we closed down. This is my second restaurant. My first business that I bought out of, I opened in 2010, right after the first,
major
crisis, right? And that's still going strong. My former business partner is still running that place and still doing well. The one that in Livermore, we were on the precipice of literally just in awe of what kind of numbers we were doing the Sunday prior to shutdown, which was March 17th. And just in a matter of 2 days went from, I would say, to almost maybe 15 to 18% of what we were doing. Mm-hmm. So within about 4 days, I partnered with a friend of mine who has 2 other restaurants in Livermore, and he had pivoted to doing groceries and doing produce and meat boxes. And I said, hey, Rusty, I said, what are you doing? How did you do it? Who did you call? And he gave me the numbers and the vendors. And by Thursday that week, I was doing grocery boxes. And that literally saved our butt. We were delivering, we were taking orders for all of that stuff. We were reaching customer base that we hadn't even reached with our regular.
So you just entirely like blew up your business model and just tried to adapt.
Quite frankly, and I'm not an admin person by any stretch of the imagination, but I sat down with my computer and I was telling my staff, I have my general manager, Jorge, who is my right hand, without whom I probably couldn't do anything. He and I said to him, I go, I'm literally on the computer from 10 o'clock till 11 o'clock at night, handling emails. And he said, okay, what can I do? And I started handing him, I said, okay, you do meat, I'll do produce. And then his daughter, who also works for me, I said, okay, Carla, I need you to do an order form. And she created an order form. And by the next week we had an order form, and that alleviated the emails. And by about 3 weeks in, we were handling, the first 4 weeks we did over 800 boxes. The first, I think, 3 weeks we did over 800 boxes. And we were delivering outside our county. We were delivering all over the place because people couldn't go out.
Well, are you still doing that as we speak?
No, that's dwindled quite a bit because now people have access to food. This was when people could find stuff in the grocery store. I told my staff, I said, if it's not nailed down and we have it in I said, sell it. I don't know what it is. I said, because we have these eggs that people just absolutely love. There's something about our eggs that are just amazing. So we were selling our eggs, we were selling our coffee, we were selling everything. Yeah, and
so now that you're doing outdoor business only, correct?
Sorry?
You're doing outdoor business only, and you're running more like a traditional restaurant. We're
doing patio, and I normally, when we were in business full time, I did live music Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. So last weekend was our first full weekend of service. So we were doing, I started live music again, and it was really funny because I had Friday, Saturday music last week, and I posted it and I boosted the post, and there was so much activity on there regarding why are you doing music? Why would you want to do that? Why are you risking people's health? And then other people were saying, we need music, we need this, and it was interesting because Michael had the guy on there the other day about that does music for a living.
Jason looks
right. And my whole thing was, even when we were during shutdown, we have a farmer's market downtown and we have a patio that sits 150 people. So I was putting bands on my patio and just having people do like tailgating, coming in. We would go out with and bring their food to their car, and they could sit in their car and eat and enjoy live music. And that was going great. People were loving it. They were messaging me and saying, oh my God, we're so glad that you're doing this. We're loving the music, blah, blah, blah. And then the minute I got sick, I was like this beast who was like having live music. And oh my God, why are you doing this? You're contributing to that. So it's like, I don't know. So now we had a city council meeting on Monday night, and the city is behind us doing the live music again, just as long as we're following protocol. So now you have the bands performing, but they have to be masked. You have to have them social distance. The tables have to be social distance. There's no dancing. There's no fun. You can't vibe. You can't, interact. You just have to remain seated at your tables, but at least you can have some sort of atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do at this point.
So are you paying the normal price for a band to come in, or? Yeah.
But I mean, to be honest with you, there's no draw where we are on our outside patio without a band. I mean, we just have a reputation for having live music on our dinner service, and it's just that our downtown area has live entertainment. We're just known for it, so it just doesn't work without it. I mean, and
so I'm sorry, I'm confused. Are you paying more or less than you
no,
typically
we're paying the same amount that we were paying our bands.
Oh, okay.
Actually, yeah.
They must love it because it's probably very difficult to get gigs.
Well, I'm a huge supporter of local live music. I have been since I opened. It's been my I've always loved having live music when I go out, and so it's been something that I've been really advocating for. And most of my bands really like to play at my place, so they really support me.
Right.
So it's been really great.
So as you look forward to, whenever some type of normalcy comes back, will your business model stay the same, or did you think or get some ideas that will stick and you say, this I think will work afterwards, or?
I feel like most of it's just been the same. The only thing that we pivoted on was doing the groceries. And I think that we'll probably still offer that. I think that we might branch out to offering more like logo stuff. Like we have our big sellers are like our coffee mugs and any kind of apparel and stuff like it. People really like that. So I probably would do more of that.
Good.
But yeah, it's a journey. I mean, I don't know how far in the future we're going to see normal. I don't know what that's going to look like.
Nobody does.
I do.
I'll say this: we could have done a better job of the whole thing from the outset, and we might be back to normal now. But at the way things are going now, who the hell knows?
Yeah, I agree with you, Josh. I think this could have been handled completely differently, but oh well, here we are.
My frustration is that we didn't go after it together. I think if you in California and me in New Jersey, we followed the same protocol and did it together. I don't know. Maybe that's. Well,
that's what I've been. My mantra has been from, had we had someone stand up and say, okay, US, we're going to do it this way for 3 months. We're going to stick to this protocol for 3 months as a country. We're all going to be a team. We're going to stick together. We're going to do it this way, and here's how we're going to handle it. And we're going to defeat this virus together. We're going to be united together, USA, woo! But
and you know what? The model was out there. I mean, South Korea did it right from the beginning. They opened up in the right way, right? I mean, we had things that we could have followed. We just didn't.
Nope. Because I don't know what the movement is in this country of denying the science. And I guess, it's funny. And I have a friend at the dog park where I go to, and he's a science teacher. And he was talking about it the other day. He said, it's interesting to watch the people have to deal with science on a daily basis, evolving, because as a public, we're not used to that. We're used to be given facts after the research has been done. So right now we're having to deal with it on a daily basis as it evolves. So when the data comes in, the facts change. And when we see facts change that rapidly, our immediate response is, oh shit, they're lying to us. This is wrong. That must not be true because the other day they said this.
Right.
So that seems to be the narrative, and that's where we're wrong. We need to understand that we're watching this evolve. This virus is new. That's why it's the novel coronavirus. It's not, So I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
No, that's what I say. And everything just becomes divisive. Everybody, if you have an opinion, you can find a place to support that. And that's all that you're seeing on your feeds is, and you're like, yeah, I must be right. I must be a genius because everybody agrees with me. And
well, and that's why social media has become so. I mean, it controls the narrative every day. And I was listening to the other day about how we just don't have control of the narrative anymore. We don't. We just don't. It used to be, I knew when my dad was watching the news when I was little, and it was like you had the local news, you had the national news, and that's what you had, and now it's just coming at you so quickly and from so many different sources, and it's just, it's scary now. really is.
I also tend to be very leery anything that comes out that has an agenda, and everybody does. So if CNN comes out with something, I know CNN's agenda, and if Fox News comes out with something, I know their agenda. So they neither one might not be lying, but they are pushing the agenda. They are.
They're pushing it, yeah, you're right. So what I try to do,
I'll say this: I don't know if agenda is the right word there, because I think that there are definitely, there are entities out there that definitely have an agenda, and Fox News will pick up on that and broadcast it. CNN will pick up on that and broadcast it. But what they have is they have a listening audience that wants to hear a certain message, and that's what they're obliging.
yeah.
So that's
right.
why, and it's not just CNN.
As
It's
members of news need to be very particular about where we pick it up and who we want to listen to. And I think that we just have to be more conscious and more responsible consumers of what we listen to. And I'm voraciously consuming information every single day, and I'm looking at every angle. I'm listening to people that I would not want to normally listen to just to get their take on things.
Myself as well.
Yeah, so I'm not just listening to one source, and I'm constantly trying to get different information. So,
because if I'm convinced that I'm right, I want to hear the argument from somewhere else and say, is there another way of thinking? Because
But what the problem is, Michael, is you don't have an awful lot of people out there doing the same thing. They're not trying to see other perspectives. They're so.
Well, it's hard to change people's minds. It's hard. Like Frank says about the rioters, everybody has to wear the masks. The rioters don't have to. I get that argument. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of people without masks. It seemed like that was the tipping point when we really got angry. Obviously, the protesters, and then. And I can see that point. They didn't have masks. Why do we have to wear masks? I understand the anger. I mean, the masks don't bother me. If that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. I'm a soldier, But I get the anger, and
well, my whole thing on the protesting, we have got to stop putting these protesters together with. I mean, there's so many different aspects of what's going on in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't group these things together. We have an angry, there's angry people out there, and they have a right to be angry. This is just happening for a completely different reason. And you can't group that together with what's going on with the virus, it's separate entities, and it's just, I don't know. I can't get behind that whole thing.
If schools are opening, then why can't restaurants? And we were talking before, Josh, and I thought, if schools open up without a hitch, then we're going to be fine. We're going to open up like behind them.
That's not
open and close and open and close, and
schools aren't going to open. I said it last week. Schools,
it's not going to be without a hitch. You can guarantee that the numbers are going to spike again, and then we're going to be back into the battle. And interestingly enough, you don't see anything. I mean, are his kids going to school? Betsy DeVos's family don't even attend public school. I mean, none of those people are even associated with the public school system. I mean,
it's the meme. If you're having the meeting about going back to school on a Zoom meeting because you can't do it in person,
exactly.
That's the irony, right?
Exactly.
Like we can't all meet and talk about this. However, we'll put the kids back in. My kids are not school age, so I really don't.
Kids aren't going back to school
because you have teachers. Like, I waited on a lady because I still serve 4 days at my restaurant. And I waited on a group of gals on Sunday, and one of them is a teacher, and she teaches autistic kids. And she said, I'm on the fence every single day. I'm in meetings daily about this. And she said, I got to get my kids back to school. And she said, I understand that it's a problem. And I really got her struggle, because here you've got these kids that they need to have that stimulation. And so what do you do? Because autistic kids can't learn on Zoom. They can't learn on a computer screen. I have a homeschooled child that's 15, and it's hard enough to keep her focused.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend that has a special needs child, and as well, was going crazy because they can't do it at home. They can't keep their child like in one seat for hours, and they were frustrated because there's really no plan, and for special needs kids, there was even less of a plan what to do with them. And this friend of mine was really in a bad way last week, just trying to find out what is going on. So as everybody's angry, and Josh and I were talking about it, have you? Can you be friends with somebody that you don't agree with politically? I can. I am.
Not only friends, I'm family members with a lot of people. Right.
I mean, I get it. I told Josh, I said, I could probably think of a dozen people that if I broke down at 2 a.m. and they disagree with me politically, I could still call them and they'd come and they'd pick me up and I'd do the same for them and drive them home. And I said that I know where they stand. I don't know if they know where I stand. I'm not that vocal about it, but
I guess it's how deep you want to get into the conversation and how much you can put aside. I know that, and how often do you see these people?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that I've gotten into some heated arguments with people that I see, on a daily basis. I know that as a business owner, it's really hard for me to make my views public.
Sure.
I tried up till probably about 3 months ago being really quiet. Now I'm not so quiet anymore, especially after this virus situation. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I feel like I'm getting to the point where some of my views are part of who I am.
Yeah.
And, especially right now, I feel like
a lot of people.
Going on in the world today is not so much political, but humanitarian. And I'm not so sure that I want to separate myself from my humanity anymore, or my integrity, or my character.
I understand. And I also understand that people on both sides of the aisle, because there's really no middle ground. So both sides of the aisle, everybody thinks they're right. Everybody thinks that they are with their God and they are doing the right thing for humanity and their people.
Okay, I have an issue with this. And here's my issue with the God thing. Okay. I feel very strongly that I have God in my heart. And I don't think, as a person who has God in her heart, would react to my fellow man the way that some people are reacting to their fellow man. And that is across the board. So I don't think that if you are treating your fellow human on a daily basis the way that you want to be treated yourself, if you are doing that every day consciously, that you can sleep good at night knowing that you're doing that, that to me is having God in your heart. And I don't care where you worship. I don't care who you worship. That is basic level humanity and love for your fellow man. And if you can't do that and you're not doing that, then that's what it's about.
Well, me and Josh, we were talking before, like when Bush was president, you could say, oh, I don't like Bush, or I do like Bush. And everybody would just be like, okay. But you can't say that now. You can't pick a side without picking a fight.
Because Trump has struck such a visceral nerve in people, and they're that much more involved in it.
My feeling about this, and this is what I asked my
Let it out. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's a good idea, but my feeling is so basic, is that you have a person who shows you every single day what kind of human he is. He says it. He exploits it.
Oh, he doesn't hide it. Yeah, 100%.
He doesn't hide it. And if you can look at him and be wanting to emulate his humanity and his character and his integrity, and you can align with it, then go for it. I cannot. And I wouldn't.
Half the country is with him and half the country is against him, and
I feel very strongly that a lot of people, especially within his administration, are with him out of fear. That's my feeling. And I know there's people probably going to
when I said he strikes a visceral nerve with people, that's the exact nerve that he struck. That's why. Of course.
That
was the plan. When you start, with your first speech saying that, we have rapists coming in from Mexico, that's fear. That's what you're trying to inspire.
And it's funny because my husband's a Mexican national, and we watched Mexican politics quite a bit. And when the president from Mexico came here a couple of weeks ago, and we went through that whole thumbs up for Goya and all that other stuff, and he was propagating Goya and all the stuff that they stood for, and he was, saying how great Hispanic Americans were. I mean, it was totally, if you go back to how he was talking about Mexicans before, now they're Hispanic Americans. But it was, so, I mean, it's just watching the whole, I mean, if the rhetoric from, if you go back even into his Twitter feed about China, I don't know.
Like I said, if you
go in this conversation right now with me,
if you have an opinion, you can find support for it, for Trump, against Trump, either way. And that's why I said
I'm not Republican or Democrat. Please understand. I'm not. I don't. I just feel that he's not a nice person. I would not want to sit down at a table with him. I would not want to share space with him.
Out of all the years,
but it's funny. I've heard the opposite. I've heard like in person, he's very charismatic, very nice, very.
I would imagine he is.
Most people when he was like him are Josh.
When he was in Atlantic City for all those years, I never waited on him. I did meet him, and I actually worked. I had a couple gigs that when the Taj Mahal opened up, I would walk around with him and take photoshops and take like journalists and stuff through. I can't tell you that I know what he is or talk to him, but everybody, I've worked with a ton of people that have waited on him, managed, he'd come in the back room, simple guy, remembered names, everybody in our business who waited on him in the 80s and 90s. I don't know. A lot of people are my friends. If you waited on him and you didn't like him, tell me. But I can't get anybody to say like he wasn't a miserable guy. We waited on a lot of executives. Do the same thing. The automatic 20% just goes on. Nobody actually signs it. It's all comp and stuff like that. But that's what I would think.
I don't know. I'm sure that as a business person, and as a an in your face kind of, surface kind of guy, maybe he is. I don't know. I wouldn't want him in my inner circle. I just wouldn't. He's just not my type.
TV version. So let me see what. This video came out yesterday, and this was really. This affects us too. Like everything I see online, everything I see on TV, I'm like, oh shit, we're not opening up anytime soon. When the doctors, the American frontline doctors came out yesterday and they said that hydrochloroquine is the cure and zinc and stuff. Look, I got to be honest with you. My first notion when I saw it was, okay, they proved it to be, because there's been 3 or 4 tests and they say it doesn't work, it works, it doesn't work, it works, it doesn't work. Now they say it definitely doesn't work. And I thought, oh, they did another test. And now that was like my first 10-second of the video. And then I thought, well, who put it out? And it was the Tea Party and Breitbart. They have an agenda. So obviously they're going to push their agenda. And now I don't, and I've talked to people. Josh, I tell you all the time, I talk to people that I believe are smarter than me. And they believed the video yesterday. So why should I not? I don't know. But it still means more division. And it still means my restaurant doesn't open up. So then I think, oh, I'm not going to watch it because.
Isn't that the one that they fact checked on Twitter?
And they all took it down. Frank worked at Trump Plaza for a long time. Yeah, generous guy, great guy to wait on. Right. I'm sure Frank waited on him a bunch of times. And today it's interesting that the CEO of Amazon and Google, Zuckerberg, and somebody else, they're all speaking to Congress today about social media and the platform.
Yeah, I saw that this morning.
And the responsibility,
put down social media. Social media pushes everything, right? And there's no fact checking either way. You can lie on social media and it's allowed.
I'm really surprised that they're doing any at all, frankly. I know there was a video that my husband saw the other day that he was trying to show me, and it had been removed. And I told him, I said, a lot of this stuff is being fact checked now, and it's either getting removed or it's getting tagged or it's being in some way or another. Twitter's doing it now. I know that Facebook is doing some. They're not doing a lot. But a lot of the campaign stuff is being checked now. So I don't know. I mean, I just want those guys to pay taxes. I don't really care about anything else.
It does seem to infuriate people when low income people get something for free. But if you're rich, I guess the feeling is they've earned it. They don't have to pay taxes. Or
Daniel made that point last week. He said, everybody's up in arms about us getting $600, but you got, billionaires getting a $2 trillion tax cut, and nobody talks about that.
Carl, I think a lot of people are using, a fake site and just putting up propaganda of one way or another to support, to support Trump or attack him. Either way.
So that's been. I mean, they haven't stopped doing that. I mean, but
it's not addressed by our government.
Mm-hmm.
There must be. Facebook knows every word that we're saying on this video. They know every comment that I posted. They know every message that comes in. I've heard that when you write a private message and you put, "Hey, Monica, how are you?" and then I erase it, they even save what I erased. So they have to know, where things are coming from. Although I guess the discussion is, what is their responsibility? They're not the New York Times. They're not journalists.
They're saying that they don't have any responsibility because they're a social platform. They're not the news. They're not any other.
With me talking, I can say, "Hey, Monica, I hate this about politics," and you can say, "Oh, I hate this too." We're not journalists. We're just talking, and so.
But the problem is that a lot of people rely on Facebook for their news.
It influences, right? And people will see
it's more than influence. A lot of people do.
Well, it's right now. I just signed up. I don't know if you guys are aware about our data that's being sold to all the social networks and for advertising. There's Andrew Yang is trying to push for us getting paid for our data now because they're making millions and millions of dollars on selling our data back and forth, and we're not getting anything for it.
Do you boost posts sometimes for your business on Facebook? It's amazing. It's amazing how micro it is. By code, by interests. Did the person buy a pair of shoes in the last 4 weeks? By the neighborhood, by their, do they watch Jimmy Fallon? Do they eat tacos or do they eat spaghetti? Every little thing. So you can talk to that one person
exactly
buy your product. It's
right now, if they can pass this initiative and this policy goes through, and we can determine where our metadata and where our data is going and who gets access to it, and we can get dividends from it.
I think it's so far above our heads that nobody can even comprehend it, and they're like, I don't care.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I can still get a check for that, whether I understand it completely or not.
I'm unemployed.
Give me a check. I'm unemployed.
So, Josh? Next week when we talk, how's the world going to change? We're going to be happier next week.
Well, I don't think so.
No.
So, are you guys a union, right?
No.
You're not.
No. I'm in Georgia. There's workers have very little rights in this state.
Work to right state.
So are you both collecting unemployment then at this point? Or has it been okay?
Yes.
Both of our restaurants are closed and
because I was hearing you was saying, Michael, that you can't even really go and get work as an actor right now because it would affect you.
I mean, I could always make money being an extra. It's easy. I send my picture and they hire me. I can make a few $100. I see some projects going up, and I don't know how they're actually doing it, but there's not that much to do out there. Also, though, I think I think that the Senate's going to stay hard on this $200. I
do too. And here's an interesting thing to think about. So you've got all this anger in the streets right now. So you combine that with people losing their extra unemployment and probably not having a job to go back to because the job that they had that they were refusing to go back to has probably been filled by someone else or it's been eliminated. And then you combine that with maybe they've lost their apartment or they've lost their mortgage is about ready to foreclose because they haven't been able to make their mortgage payment because those things haven't been extended. And then we're looking probably in the next few months about the credit cards and everything else to start saying, okay, we do payments, and that shit's going to go to hell. So this stuff is just going to continue to, pick up pace, and the anger and bad sentiment is just going to continue to pick up pace. And then what are we looking at? Because I think this stuff that's happening in the streets right now is just going to pick up momentum. I think Trump already knows that. I think that's why this federal police stuff, these unmarked cops that are out in the streets right now.
Well, I definitely think, and I was talking to Josh before, and if that $600 is my lifeline, I can't work. The places that are hiring, I can't afford to go back there. It's less than I normally would make, and it's less than unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
And I am looking forward to a job next year and at the end of this year, and I've been reaching out and talking to everybody. But in the immediate future, it's not positive, my outlook, and it makes me mad. So I would never go out and even protest. I'm not that guy, but you might find people like me out there because I'm so mad that I had nothing to do with me losing everything. I can definitely see anger, and I think it's all going to come to a head in the fall. Schools, professional sports, people running out of money, and then right around the corner of the elections, and people are going to be very, very passionate about their candidate. And
well, I think the thing that bothers me the most is most of the people that you have fighting on that Senate floor, and I'm not talking about just the Republicans, but I'm talking about the Democrats as well. I mean, they're over there stepping on themselves, trying to figure shit out. Mm-hmm. They all are very well taken care of.
100%. It's hard for either side of the aisle. They are rich and they
all have health benefits. They all have a really fat freaking retirement. They all have everything is paid.
It's a good job.
Yeah. So who's there screaming and yelling about all of us? And I'm not talking about me specifically. I'm okay right now. But what about everybody else? What about the people that work for me? What about the people that, are just, they don't know where to go tomorrow.
Yeah, it's hard to think. It's hard to think outside yourself. For anyone,
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Is that you don't have people in our government that are talking about the person right next to you who may not have a place to eat tomorrow.
No, there's just such a disconnect, and most of them have lived a very plush and they have people they don't wake up and make their coffee. They don't pay their electric bill, and they're disconnected. And those are the people that are the ones that are deciding everything for us. So I'm nervous. I hope next week when we come on, Josh, I'm saying like, whew, we got through that. Everything's, I said it, I don't know. Like if I get so worked up sometimes over the weekend that I think like, oh, I'm not going to do Vodcast anymore. I enjoy it and I have fun doing it and stuff. But I just think like, what the hell am I doing? Talking here and I'm a mess and no money's coming in. And I imagine a lot of people are in the same boat,
There's a lot of people out there.
People are having martinis and going on vacations, and that makes you feel bad. You're like, why am I not doing that?
Yeah, that's true.
Michelle's back at work, but I guess you work in a restaurant, Michelle, but it's slow, so you're not making money. I get it. You're taking a hit no matter what, and that's why we need help. What were we going to say, Josh?
I forget. It's going to be bad, but I do think, and I believe this, I think that we will have a vaccination early in the new year, and we'll come roaring back.
Let's hope that everybody gets the vaccination, and we don't have people like freaking out. No, I don't want to get it, or let's hope that
even if they don't, then I don't think that they'll be worried about going out to dinner.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you're right that it'll take, in a vaccine, I don't even know what that means. Do we all line up to get a vaccine once they come out with it? Or does it mean that if you get the virus, then they can treat it very effectively, get you back to work?
They've actually improved how they can treat it. I mean, they know a lot more about it now than they did in April when people were dying, and so, it'll be a combination of those factors where it won't be as prevalent in our society. There won't be the fear about it, and people will be back, and businesses will be back operating, and booking great dinners at our restaurants.
Yeah,
I think
that come back strong. We do need the shows. We do need professional sports. We do need the large concerts, and
we need to get through the fall, and we're going to need government assistance to do it. It's just the way it is.
I'm really concerned about the fall and whether or not, and that was one of the things on our restaurant group meeting that we talked about on Sunday, was whether or not we're going to have to shut down again for the fall when the flu starts and we can't discern between.
I don't think that we will have a government sanctioned shutdown again. That won't happen. I mean, individual businesses might, and maybe because demand is down so much that they just don't have the money to open. I mean, that could certainly be the case, or they make the conscientious decision to shut down so they don't further, participate in spreading the virus. But I don't think the government's going to sanction it.
California is a little bit different, Josh. I don't know if
I know you guys are your own entity out there.
We are. And I know that they've been on the fence. Even I know San Francisco is still closed. And
how come Newsom didn't throw his hat in the ring and run for president this year? My wife and I have been saying for years that he'd be a tremendous candidate.
I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know. And people are really giving him a lot of shit right now. And that just goes back to my point earlier, is that I feel like, the governors and local officials have suffered a great deal, going back and forth because they haven't had the guidance and they don't even have the funding to deal with this, It's been really hard for them. And just in the last few weeks, there was a bunch of stuff on social media about him having interest in a winery in Napa. And when we were shut down, he was his winery, or said winery, I don't know if it's true or not, was open and everyone else was shut down. So he was getting a lot of crap about that.
Well, I think that if you're a politician right now, you're getting beat up. No matter, Josh, you have a Republican governor, he's getting beat up. I have a Democratic governor in New Jersey, he's getting beat up. And I think that I'm hoping, if everybody's poor in October, or 30 million people are, the elections, anybody up for election, you're going to vote out because you got to blame somebody. So if they take care of everybody, then everybody will vote for the people that helped them. So I need help, so I'm hoping that they help me. That's my point anyway.
I'm so concerned about the suppression of the vote and whether or not the vote is actually going to be accurate and whether or not people are going to get to vote. I'm concerned, and that's keeping me up at night.
It is a concern, and why that doesn't keep me up at night is because I have less than zero in control over that.
We do have less than zero control, but it still scares me.
However, I would say this: in this country, there should be no doubt at all that we are the fairest place to vote in the world. That's what we live by, right? There should be no doubt. It should be. I can buy a pair of socks on Amazon and it'll be here tomorrow at noon. I should be able to vote, and it should be 100% accurate. It should be 100% easy. It should be, and all votes should count. And maybe a holiday. It shouldn't be these antiquated systems of, the punch holes and the filling out of paper. How can it be? How can everybody have trust if it is that way? And there should be no doubt in how we vote. And if there's 5% of the people that doubt, like Frank doesn't believe in mail-in votes. If there's 5% of the people that don't believe that, then that's too much, because we're America, right? Like, that's how we built everything on. We should be the fairest. We look at everybody else's elections and we go, oh, that's not for real. That's not for real. We shouldn't have anybody looking at us. So whatever it has to do to be fixed, it should be. We should put the money into it, I guess. And we can do things on our phone. Nobody will trust it. And I get it. Politicians are crooked, and they're always gonna try to cheat. But that's my point on voting anyway. And that's why I'm not staying up, because it's not, when I go to bed, I think like, oh, I can't do anything about it. Right?
I don't know. I've been mail-in voting for a while, California has mail-in voting, so my parents did it. I don't see what the problem is with it. I mean, Trump did it. I don't know. I don't understand why it's a big deal.
I never did it, but my point is, yeah, I don't really know. But my point is that instead of fighting, you know what I mean? Instead of fighting that it's good or that it's bad, it should be fixed. And the whole system should be 100% transparent, and it should be 100% safe and 100% honest. And then everybody would have confidence in whoever wins won.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's utopian. I mean, it's just not the
I
way
know.
it is. We have all the same problems from
You're
the
right.
last like 30 elections. They
Yep.
have not been fixed.
Nope.
They have not been fixed.
You're right.
That's the way
The people who win said, well, we won. Why should we fix it? Right?
Right.
The losers want to fix it, but the winners don't. And every time it changes parties, it just changes opinions. Yeah. Politicians are crooks, both sides of the aisle. I guess what I do is I say, well, this is what I believe in. And this crooked politician will push that more than the other guy. So that's what I do. And then, you know, I remember in the last election, I was talking to a guy who was 30 years old that I worked with. And I said, did you vote? And he goes, no. And I said, really? And he goes, no. He goes, it doesn't affect us. It doesn't matter who's the president. It doesn't affect us. Maybe. I think it does. I think it does.
I think right now we should be voting like our life on it. That's what I feel like. I think more importantly,
Miss you, Frank.
I think that we need to be voting for our kids and for
and everybody. Like, it doesn't matter. And both sides should be voting, because if you're that passionate to get in a fight online, then you should make it a point to go vote for that party and your beliefs.
That's exactly.
And then the majority wins. That's, you know, I try to be diplomatic about everything because, you know, I'm an unemployed waiter. I don't want to get you know, political and tell people my views on all these different things, but it does affect me. It's going to affect me. It's going to affect my kids, your kids, and that's the way it goes. So,
yeah. It's
what else? Final thoughts, Josh? What do you want to, you know?
Hey, it's a big week for us. This is a big week for us. We gotta, you know, that's first and foremost. I got the carrot in front of my face. You know, I want to see where it leads me, because, you know, there are decisions that need to be made, because if this doesn't go the way, you know, if this doesn't land in the right place for us, I mean, we're going to have to totally change our lives, both of us.
And by that, you mean hopefully 400 a week.
Make some big life-altering decisions.
And by waiting on it,
career. I'm sorry?
You have 400 a week?
So both of you are talking at the same time. I'm not reading it.
The 400 a week, that's what you're saying you're waiting on. That's what we're on edge for.
400, 600, 200. Yeah, we got to see where that lands, because, you know, if I get, you know, the right number, I'd say, okay, I can push this till, you know, the fall, see if I open in September, to see if we're going to get through the fall. You know, I can budget myself that way. If it's 200 a week, yeah, I can't. No matter, there's no amount of, you know, way I can shave off my expenses that I can make it work. So I'm going to have to, you know, do something different. And maybe people are saying, well, that's what you need to do. You need to go do something different. And that might be true. I don't know. But like I said, I'm almost 50 years old. I've been doing this for a long time. I've, you know, carved out a niche where, you know, it's my skill set doesn't translate to a lot of different places. And, you know, in my industry, there's only a handful of jobs anyway where I can do what I do to make what I make. So,
right.
You know, we'll see.
Monica, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. You know, it's interesting. I remember when 2008, when the market crashed, I had lost my serving job that I had for 20 years in the same place. I worked the same station every day for 20 years, making really great money, bought my house off that place. I had my kids there, and lost that. My husband lost his job. We were in a bad way. And I remember having to get a job renting apartment complexes and making $13 an hour. And I remember getting my paycheck at the end of the week and saying, oh my God, I make this in one day.
Right.
And
Josh and I worked at a casino in a great steakhouse. We had one of the best staffs I ever worked with. We were killing it, and the whole casino closed.
Yeah, I can only imagine what kind of money you guys were making. I know what I make. My restaurant is a great earning place, and I remember when I opened and I told my staff what kind of money they were going to make, and they didn't believe me. They said, "Oh my God, it's breakfast, Monica. What are you talking about?" And I said, "You watch."
Yeah.
And because we're doing a high-end brunch and with cocktails, and when you couple that with volume that we're doing, I mean, you're killing it.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so
You know what though, Frank, my buddy Frank, he's like one of the top earners in the city. I'm not. Frank kills it. Frank works in a great spot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's huge. There's no way that you can I don't know. The only thing that I can think, Josh, is the real estate market. You could always sell houses because you're a salesman by nature.
Yeah, and we talked about that before you came on. But even people that are, they say it takes like 3 to 5 years to build up that type of clientele and build up that type of reputation, where you're making that kind of money.
No, it is.
And I understand that, but I'm not 25 years old anymore. I've got young kids. You do what you got to do. You do what you have to do. I mean, I've talked to my wife. I'm like, this might be a good time. We bought a house 4 years ago. We put money into it. This is the house we want to raise our children in, and have them graduate high school. But at the same time, I'm like, this might be a great time to sell it because we have tremendous equity in the place. Come out. Cash might be a good thing to have in the economy that's to come in the fall. And then get into something, maybe less expensive. I don't know. I've thought about a lot of different things, because if things go as bad as they perhaps could go, I feel like real estate is going to drop. Everything's going to drop. And then you don't have that option anymore.
I feel like real estate's going to take a dive maybe in another year. It has to.
It'll be behind everything else, but of course it will, especially when you have, evictions because people can't afford their rent. Then you're going to have all those, and then we're not even talking about like changes that are bound to come anyway, because I know so many businesses that are going to a remote operating model where, they don't need their office space anymore, because they're realizing that they could be just as productive with people working from home.
Yeah, so I think it was Facebook that just announced that they're on a permanent remote operating model. I think
exactly. So what's that going to do to commercial real estate? How's that going to affect residential real estate? I mean, it's going to all have an effect, and prices are going to drop.
And also all the malls and the retail stores, they're going to go out of business faster than they were.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, they were going that route anyway. But yeah, now, so I mean, there's going to be huge changes in the economic landscape coming forward, and I'm just looking ahead and be like, hey, maybe, I don't want to do it, but maybe it's a great time to sell the house.
And AI is going to have a huge effect on our workforce too. I mean, and I don't think anybody's paying attention to that either. I mean,
without a doubt, no. There's a buddy I want to bring on this show, and one of the smartest people I know. He's also got a financial background, and I posed this question to him 3 years ago. I'm like, they're saying in, let's say, 25 years, maybe less, maybe more, like 90% of the jobs that are out there now will be done by robot or computer.
I'm reading.
No. My question is, so for the people that own that production, what's the point of keeping everybody else around? Seriously, think about it. What's the point of keeping 90% of the people that aren't going to be contributing a thing to the economy around? Why give us good water? Why feed us? Think about it.
This is exactly the problem that none of our politicians are looking forward.
There are no easy answers to that.
You don't hear anybody talking about this stuff except for
Andrew Yang. Yeah.
And if you read his book and you look at his whole policy on UBI, and you look at his whole policy and his whole platform of humanity forward, it's all structured around what's coming. Nobody else is talking about that.
Well, everybody looks at him and says he's a Looney Tune.
He's not a Looney Tune.
No. I mean,
that's fear, Michael.
Look,
that's
this is coming. I mean, there's no doubt this is coming.
Yeah. It's too bad.
I've actually heard the conspiracy theory, and I don't subscribe to conspiracy theories myself, but
They're
that this
tracking right
whole
off the
thing with giving people this money was a test run for what we would do with a universal income.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Not only that, but there's Alaska's doing it already. There's Stockton, California is already running a UBI right now. There's several. There's a city in New York that's doing it right now. I can't remember what city it is. There's several pilot programs right now that are doing it. But what it leads to is the ability, like, I mean, if you just ask yourself the question, what would you do if you had your income, but you also had another $1,000 a month?
mm-hmm.
What would you be able to accomplish? Not only creatively, but I mean, as far as investment goes, as far as your retirement goes, as far as, I mean, anything goes. I mean, you're thinking about it now, Michael, and you're laughing because you don't even have an income right now. But I mean, think about what this would mean to people who are in a marriage and you can't get out, and they're maybe in an abusive situation and they stay because they have no financial means of support. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why people do what they do because they are reliant on a paycheck or some kind of financial support from their partner.
Right, but that's always going to go on, and people are always going to stay married for that paycheck, and you know, a lot of other things. And I hope they do stay married. They keep their income up, and they come out and eat dinner at my table, and I can make my living.
Exactly.
We ran long today, but I think we had a great discussion. I appreciate you coming on, Monica. Josh, stay on the line, Josh.
Monica, thank you. Nice talking with you.
You too.